October 1929, the Depression hit America. Here's Martha's story.
Okay, well now, it did not affect us as such. With the fact being that it didn't affect us about the food or the clothing or anything like that. We had plenty of that. I could cook, and you could get, he went to the market and bought whatever we needed and all that, and he was working part-time all the time. There was such thing as the welfare, but we didn't have a lot of children at the time, so it wasn't necessary, but he worked all the way through, and that didn't affect us because we were able to get aid if it was absolutely necessary, but it just happened that he had enough work and all like that, and then and the things that we had to have, he picked up coal on the railroad. I didn't know that coal would be strewn up and down the railroad track, but he would go on and pick up coal like that. And
it would fall off the cars.
Well, however it was, I never knew before, but that's what he did, and he was real hustler, and like wood, kindling and wood like that, he would just pick it up, and we always lived in Detroit and Flint.
Okay.
During the times that we've been there.
So that was prior to.
And Cassopolis, we lived out there for a while because he was good at anything. He worked at Jones. We worked for a man on those plantations out there and houses and furnished. He was a good worker. He was going to let us have one of our own. Because George there was 3 and 4 room houses, there was huts, but they were nice little places. And he was going to build one for us, but his brother called and told him he had a job in Flint in the factory, and he had done, it was a 2-bedroom place he had done already, got prepared for us. Okay. Because he was a good worker, whatever he did.
Now, we're also talking about not only the Depression, but you had the Prohibition era and all that, and you had all the gangs in Detroit, the Purple Gang and things like that. How did that affect family life, and what was your thoughts and feelings about all of that during that time?
Well, we read about it and all, just like we do now, but it really, that is the truth. It didn't affect us in any way personally, and there had no bearing, there were always ones in the family that drank and all like that, but we didn't have any calamities or anything that we came to brush with any gangs or anything like that.
Okay.
Well, okay, he bought the Essex, and then, of course, I've been driving ever since then. I drove about 10 years without a license.
Who taught you how to drive?
I just got out there when the car was out in front of the door and started pulling up the back. Next thing, I started going around the block.
Oh, really?
So
that's where Mama got that from, huh? Okay.
Yeah, but I always drove. And then when I got so I could drive, then he would, and the kids, Sandy, Darty was born in 26, and Sandy was born in 28. And as then he went to letting me keep the car and pick him up and all that, so I would have transportation with the children. But I started driving with that Essex. I just got out there in front of the door, and I would go so far and back up and go so far, and then one day I decided to go around the block. And I've just been driving everything.
All right, how about that?
From down.
Now, when that was Exer and Will living on Connor at the time? How long did they live there?
Oh, they lived there for, I should say around a year. And then we moved around on J Street. We lived together. And from time to time, Glenn, they had three, maybe Lieutenant was a baby when they moved off Waterloo, but we lived together on J Street in Waterloo, over by the cemetery and everything, and in the vicinity of the church. And we lived together, and until they They moved with some people for years.
Okay. All right. Drusilla was born 1926. Sandy Jr. 1928.
Bobby 1930.
He was the next one. Okay. Anything in there you want to talk about between 28 and 30, or when?
No, it's just that they were all small together. They were always manageable. I had the same kind of hand Mama did. I used the rod, and they recognized it, and that's how they came. I did. I didn't beat or nothing. And the same thing with my sister's children come to my house. That's the way they were under my rules. And when mine went to her house,
Well, I can remember 1958, 1959. Everybody that came upstairs on Meldrum walked in with a lot of respect.
Yes.
When that Invictus was
I had
up.
fun, let them have fun and everything like that. And Evelyn had, she was a little, there's always a child that resents certain things, and she resented me being so precise. And so one day, Exeter took Glenn to a program at Calvary, and they had moved out in Romulus then, and I was on Elra, and they left Evelyn at my house. And so Exeter said, she's got a cold, and that's the reason I'm not taking her. And said, she sits up and she pushed her feet out of her shoes. And said, don't let her do that because she's got a cold now. And so we managed alike, but if there's any special things, she'd tell us. So my sister hadn't been gone no time hardly, and she kept looking me in the eye, and I looked, and she's pushing her shoes off. I said, I said, put your shoes back on. I told her, and then I caught her a couple of times, and I told her again, I said, now, you better put your shoes on. I'm not going to tell you anymore. I don't, those little white girls' mothers don't make them my aunts, don't make them my. I said, well, I'm not no little white girl's mother. I'm a little black girl's mother, and you are going to do what I tell you. And so she said, you're just a duffy old lady. When my sister got home from church, I took her in the room and told her she couldn't hardly keep him laughing. She said she don't even hardly know what a white woman is, let alone an auntie. But she just resented me by her being a little puny. I should have just let her have her way. But Lord X-Lass says she wouldn't know. I don't know if she know a white person if she see him because they're in Romulus. She wasn't in school, and she didn't know it wasn't a white neighbors. And she said, they little white girls, aunties don't make them mine. She resented, but they all had to. If my children was at her house, now that's your mother now. Why are you gone? We didn't.
Right.
And so.
What comes to mind when I say 1930? Bobby was born 1930.